This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. We begin tonight with an urgent plea for action from the families of the victims of an alleged serial killer. Police believe the remains of Morgan Harris and Mercedes Myron are in a landfill just outside of Winnipeg. But police maintain searching that landfill just isn't feasible. And as CBC's Stephanie Cram reports, the daughters of one of those women say if police won't search that landfill for their mom, they will. And a warning, this story contains details that might be distressing to some.
Strong words from sisters who traveled to Ottawa desperate for change.
I should not have to stand here today, and I should not have to come here and be so mad and beg so that you will find and bring our loved ones home.
This is ridiculous, and you can't keep withholding the search. And if you won't look for them, then we will.
Morgan Harris is their mom. She's one of 4 Indigenous women allegedly killed by the same man. Harris's body was never found. The sisters thought she was in the Brady landfill. Now the victims' families have been told the remains are likely in Prairie Green landfill just north of Winnipeg.
We acknowledge that the families are heartbroken. We acknowledge that they're angry, frankly. And we acknowledge that a lot of people are angry.
Police say factors like how much time has passed, the size of the landfill, and dangers like asbestos and animal remains make a search at Prairie Green difficult.
They had the nerve to put together this little PowerPoint of all the reasons why they won't search. And I didn't see one point on there saying why they should.
Cambria Harris showed her passion for safety of Indigenous women at this march 8 years ago.
I will not be next.
Now she's grieving her mother's death. Harris is one of 10 Indigenous women killed this year, the most in recent history.
I think it's disgusting. The police are trying to cover themselves because they know that they fail our women time and time again, and it needs to stop.
Victims Mercedes Myron and Morgan Harris are from Long Plain First Nation. Chief Kyra Wilson wants immediate help from the federal government.
So for me, the 2 priorities would be searches and a safe space for our Indigenous women and girls in Two-Spirit.
The meeting in Ottawa was the first time the Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations, Mark Miller, met with the Harris family.
This is the first time I meet the family, so I think it's uncomfortable for them to have my back turned to them because the government has turned their backs on them for centuries.
He said the tragedy is ongoing and called Winnipeg the epicenter of the crisis.
My mother didn't pass away with a home, so let's pay her the respect that she deserves by finally giving her one that's not a resting place at the Prairie Green landfill.
Harris says the family won't rest until her mother's home. Stephanie Cram, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Now, stories like the one you just saw could be upsetting to many people. Support is available for anyone affected by the details that have come out over the last week. You can contact Ganika Nichik for support at 204-594-6500. Support is also available through the Manitoba Kiwatinawi Okanagan group by calling 1-800-442-0488. The Union for Winnipeg Firefighters wants the city to demolish buildings that are unsalvageable more quickly. United Firefighters of Winnipeg President Tom Billis says the buildings pose too much danger when they're left standing. He says a fire last week in a city-owned home on Manitoba Avenue could have been prevented if it had been torn down, but Billis says there is too much red tape before demolition can happen.
All about safety. Safety for everybody. Safety for the homeless that go in there. Safety for our members. Safety for the neighbors. For you name it. Every aspect of safety for Winnipeggers in general. Just get rid of these places that are a sitting matchbox.
The city's manager of bylaw enforcement says the system is working as best as it can under the current legislation. Well, we are seeing a bit of a dip in admissions to the Children's Hospital in Winnipeg, but patient volumes are still high and are expected to get worse. The number of kids coming to Health Sciences Centre's Children's Emergency was 161 today. That is down from a record 200 just a month ago. A man from southeastern Manitoba is going to prison for making 3D printed guns. Canada Border Services intercepted a suspicious package that was addressed to the man that contained parts to make these so-called ghost guns. Police found other ghost guns, a 3D printer, and ammunition when they searched his home. The man pleaded guilty to firearms charges and was sentenced to 3 years in prison. Well, we are expecting another very cold night in Manitoba, and that has more people looking for a warm place to sleep. But space is limited. Chelsea Kemp has more now on efforts to help keep people warm.
A group of volunteers warm up after spending several hours walking downtown sidewalks, offering help to anyone suffering from the cold. They give what's needed: gloves, socks, even a warm bowl of soup.
So we're seeing people that are starting to have their fingers blister. We've seen people that their fingers are turning black, and that's extensive damage.
The city is now under an extreme cold weather warning, as is the majority of the province.
People still are unsheltered, and people still are outdoors overnight, and so that's a concern in terms of someone dying.
There are places to find shelter, but demand is high. One Just City is trying to meet these growing demands and has received a boost from Wolseley Miracle volunteers collecting food and clothing.
One of our guests came in one day with a pair of old flip-flops with their socks, and it was a day that was snowing, and it was really hard to see this person in the cold weather, and this was before this bitterly cold weather that we're experiencing now.
There's a call for more donations. Warm winter clothes, like jackets, boots, and mitts, and other items too, like bus tickets and laundry detergent. They want to help as many people as they can now, with many more cold nights ahead this winter. Chelsea Kemp, CBC News, Winnipeg.
And it certainly is a cold one out there this evening. A beautiful shot of the city's skyline as we head to break. Extreme cold warnings are in place for southern Manitoba and parts of the north. I will have the details when we come back after this.
This weather update is brought to you by Capital Ford Lincoln. 22 model clear out is on now.
Well, welcome back. As I mentioned, we are expecting some really cold temperatures in Manitoba tonight. Extreme cold warning in effect for all of southern Manitoba, even into Saskatchewan, northwestern Ontario. Wind chills could feel into the -40s through the evening tonight. Here's a look at our wake-up temperatures as we get into the morning, approaching or exceeding that -30 mark across most of Manitoba, even some mid-30s through parts of northern Manitoba. Really, temperatures don't get a whole lot better through the afternoon either. 21 degrees below in Winnipeg tomorrow afternoon. Mid-teens through western Manitoba into the afternoon. That's because we have an area of high pressure that will skirt its way along the international border as we get into Wednesday. Mix of sun and cloud, mainly sunny skies tomorrow. We'll see a bit of cloud cover through the afternoon, but as we get into Thursday, we're expecting another mix of sun and cloud. Our winds shift out of the south, allowing much warmer air to flow into Manitoba as we head into the later part of the week. Look at our 7-day forecast now. Expect a windy day tomorrow. Winds gust to 50 with a high of -22 degrees. Thursday, a mix of sun and cloud with a high of -10. And things do look like we're going to see a lot warmer conditions toward the weekend. -1s for Sunday and Monday. So think warm thoughts as we head toward the weekend. That's your late news for this Tuesday. Thanks for being with us tonight. Stay warm, have a great night, and we'll see you again tomorrow.